CarbonInk, accounting for our carbon footprints. Hello from all of us. We're here to describe our solution to inform carbon emissions transparency. To start with, some context of our global emissions problem. The Pigouvian theory to date, a price on carbon helps shift the burden for the damage from GHG emissions back to those who are responsible for it and who can avoid it. The reality, there remains a substantial gap between what governments have promised to do and the total level of actions they have undertaken to date, all while reduction commitments have remained voluntary. Provided the gap left by governments, those efforts have nonetheless inspired corporate action. Fortune 500 companies are committed to carbon neutrality, science-based GHG reductions, and 100% renewable energy. Furthermore, the IFRS announced in November 2021 their plan for sustainability disclosure standards, committing to the development of a comprehensive global baseline for sustainability disclosures. ERP software platforms like SAP, Salesforce, Sage, and Oracle have started incorporating GHG accountability tools into their bookkeeping, inventory, and sales management solutions. ERPs providing tools to track Scope 1 and 2 emissions is a start, and while policy continues to build support for the use of these tools, carbon accounting remains constrained in corporate databases. Current solutions lack downstream utility and lack robust Scope 3 transparency as products move along the supply chain. Enter CarbonInk.
Thanks, Aaron. CarbonInk establishes a blockchain platform to support carbon transparency. As companies and governments get more serious about addressing climate change, manufacturers and suppliers face increasing pressure to track their GHG emissions. CarbonInk brings together all of this data to create a comprehensive understanding of a product's GHG emissions. Businesses can use the data to improve their supply chain, financial institutions can reduce climate risk, and consumers can make more informed decisions. CarbonInk will track GHG emissions as products move through the supply chain. This will provide visibility of GHG emissions throughout the supply chain, inform organizations of the climate costs and risks associated with their business, enable companies to identify and prioritize areas of improvement, and help buyers understand their carbon footprint and make more informed purchasing decisions. From a business standpoint, CarbonInk will generate revenue by charging organizations for access to the data, creating reports on industry analysis and competitive positioning, and consulting companies on how to improve their supply chains. And from a standpoint of business sustainability development goals, data transparency will expedite and deepen the transition to a low carbon economy and inform purchasing decisions and identify areas of improvement in the supply chain.
Thanks, Howard. Now up to value proposition. So the value proposition that CarbonInk offers is a platform that suppliers, manufacturers, consumers, and other stakeholders can utilize to make more informed decisions. This can support gamification, where producers can leverage emission insights to refine their processes to become more carbon efficient. Verification, where CarbonInk supports accounting firms to ensure member companies are aligned to the IFRS sustainability standards, as well as transparency and consumer insights, where the downstream supply chain and consumers are informed of the carbon footprint of the products and the services they receive, and they can make more insightful decisions based on the carbon footprint from their suppliers. Now, Shahir will provide us carbon insights into the case study.
Thanks, Jay. For our case study, we're taking Wonder Bread, North America's leading bread maker. As we know, the University of Copenhagen reports that 2 out of 3 consumers, that when they get given an amount of carbon emission per product, they'll choose the product with the lowest emissions. As such, Wonder Bread wants to return and label all of its products with carbon emission labels. For that to happen, all of its suppliers can use the CarbonInk platform and on the blockchain record all the different emissions along the process of manufacturing, retail, and distribution. Once on the CarbonInk platform, we can just supply this information directly to consumers, regulators, and financiers, which they can then help improve our overall systems to reduce carbon footprint. Now over to Brianna to talk about some of the other positive impacts.
Thanks, Shahir. In addition to the business benefits that were discussed earlier, what are the environmental and social benefits that are stand to gain from our solution? On the environmental side, most importantly, we target 10% carbon emissions by increasing transparency into carbon emissions at the product and supply chain levels. On the social side, we know that carbon pricing is expected in many countries around the world or is already in process. And this data will help consumers and businesses to minimize their carbon costs by helping them to make more informed decisions into the products that they choose to purchase and the businesses that they choose to partner with. Health and well-being benefits are also stood to gain from our solution because we will have healthier water, healthier air, and customers will know that they are making decisions that are good for the planet and that will help their well-being. On the governance side, there will be an audit mechanism that will be possible as businesses report their carbon footprints through IFRS, and our data will be shared back with regulators so they can validate that those carbon footprints are accurate. And lastly, businesses will be able to improve their risk management as they'll better understand the impact that they're having on the environment, and conversely, the risks that are to be had by hurting the environment and how that negatively affects their businesses. In terms of the SDGs that will be addressed by our solution, we talked about the health and well-being gains, also responsible consumption and production along supply chains, climate action, so this is the reduction in GHG emissions, and then partnerships for the goals between regulators, consumers, product, businesses along the supply chain. That's it. And finally, we want to leave you with a thought to take away, and that is that if we manage the ink to the ledger together, we can reduce our carbon tattoo. Thank you so much for your consideration, and we look forward to working together.